Hello, everyone. This is Haley Wazinski, the Physician and Program Relations Manager here at Practice Match. This webinar is about accepting job opportunities. So after you've accepted your opportunity, that starts that kind of, hey, what am I supposed to do next? Fear in a lot of people. So we're going to discuss that today. Just as a reminder, if you have any questions, you can send those over to us via email at practicepath@practicematch.com, and all the contact information will also be available at the end of the webinar. So just a quick little overview. We're going to talk about some board exam prep, also licensing and credentialing. That maybe is something that you really didn't think of, as well as relocating. So with your board exams, once you become board eligible, really good idea to jump on that so that way you don't miss out because you want to keep pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, it's been, 13 years. I'm no longer board eligible. So for your board exams, make sure that you're registering for a date that works best for you and your schedule. So don't just assume, hey, this is the first date up. This is the one I'm going to go ahead and register for. Everything's going to be great, because you may have it to where even though that date is the first one up and is available for you, may not work best for your schedule because maybe you're on call that entire weekend or week, so you're not going to have time to prepare. Or maybe you already had an interview scheduled for that time for something else. Or you had, if you have already accepted that opportunity and you no longer have interviews, maybe you had a vacation or something planned. So make sure that you're looking at the date that's going to work best for you and your schedule. Because like I said, you don't want to assume, hey, if this is the first one up, this is going to be the best for me, because what if you don't have time to prepare? What if it's in 2 weeks instead of 2 months? So it's things like that that you want to take into account as you start to register for those exams. Also, don't procrastinate. Like I said, don't continue to push it off and push it off and push it off, because you may find that, hey, I'm no longer eligible because I've pushed it off so much. And on the other side of that, also don't procrastinate preparing for it. So don't say, you know what, I'm going to join a study group in a couple months or in a couple weeks. And all of a sudden, once again, you continue to kind of not really take it super seriously to the point where, hey, now it's been 2 months, my board exams are next week, really haven't done any studying. As soon as you set that date of this is when I'm taking the exam, go ahead and start preparing then. There are tons and tons of resources out there for you guys, depending on your specialty and all of that good stuff. But take advantage of any free ones that you can find. So one of those free resources for you is Smartest Doc. So the website is smartestdoc.com, but what that'll do is it'll actually give you board prep with your specialty. So as you can see, you can do it by timed or untimed. You can also get the explanations of why that answer is correct or incorrect. So it's kind of a nice thing in that sense where, hey, I'm able to get that information and I can also see why maybe I was correct, or if I'm a little confused and maybe I just guessed, why it was wrong. So make sure that you're taking advantage of it because like I said, you can come in, you can select your specialty, and then you can actually go in and play completely free. So take advantage of that. Also, there are different, courses, groups that you can join that will allow you to study for your boards. But also, if you're feeling a little stressed out and you're like, I just don't even know what to expect, talk to a colleague or a mentor who has already taken that board exam, who can just give you a little bit of insight of what it actually is that you should be preparing for. So make sure, once again, with those board exams, don't take those lightly and assume, hey, you know what, I can just wing this and everything's going to be great. You want to make sure that once you do start to actually take that exam, that you are prepared and you're not wasting your time with it. Also, once you do get to that licensing and credentialing stage, one of the top tips I can give you, start early. So with licensing, if you're already licensed in the state that you're, taking that job on for, that's great. You don't have a lot to worry about there. But if you are going out of state, or now you request, or you require another license because maybe you're on that border of two states and they want you to be licensed in both, whatever that is, start early. Licensing can take about 60 days to actually, go from the start of, hey, I'm applying for my license all the way to now I am licensed in that state. So make sure that you are, whenever you are applying, that you start early for that. Also, organizations are going to be different. You may have talked to a colleague or, a friend who, yeah, I just, met with someone at the hospital and they got all my license requirements for me and everything was great. Not always going to be the case for you. So if they do not assign someone or say, hey, this is, you know, um, licensing Lisa and she's going to help get everything, set up for you, make sure that you're requesting what those license requirements are because they will vary from state to state as well. So you want to make sure that you don't just assume, hey, if I apply for a license in Illinois, it's going to be the same requirements that I had for Missouri. Things can be different. So once again, just make sure that you're requesting whatever requirements you need. So that way you don't get held up in that process of, oh, well, I thought I didn't need to provide that, or, hey, I didn't even know I needed to provide that. So also with licensing, provide your CV. That's just a really good way to have all that information out with everything that you need of, hey, here's my work history, my education information. Here is where I am a member. Here's, current or past licenses. So that's just going to offer up some more information for you. Also, no matter if you are doing your licensing through someone at that organization that you're starting with or through the state itself, individually, make sure that you follow up with who is, in charge of your license at that moment. Because once again, things can fall through the cracks, even though, we all rely on the internet. We've all had it to where, something skips or all of a sudden you don't see something and now you're thinking, oh my gosh, what happened to that? Same thing can happen, especially, with the electronic era. So make sure that you're following up in a reasonable time. Just make sure, hey, do I need to provide anything else? Where are we at in this process? Should I be expecting it soon? Is it still, processing? Just so that way you're aware and you're kind of in charge of it. Because like I said, it can take up to 60 days. So you don't want to assume on day 60, hey, my license should be here by now. Where is it? And they say, oh yeah, we still need all this information from you. And then that pushes back your start date. So follow up, make sure that you're providing any information and documentation that they do need. Same thing with credentialing. Once again, you may have someone there that is going to walk you through everything, let you know what they need. Others, you may be kind of on your own. So once again, start early with that. That can take up to 150 days, so that's even longer. So as soon as you get that opportunity, if you know, hey, I need to get credentialed now, start that process. So if you are, on your own with this, check state laws and standards for credentialing. Just like licensing, they can vary from state to state. So you want to make sure that even if you got credentialed in Missouri and now you're getting credentialed in Illinois or wherever, that you are checking to make sure that you have that information. Also, the NCQA requirements. They're going to need your education and training information, your work history, and your professional liability history. So if you're ever wondering, okay, well, what all does that include? Does that include, this information or that? Check with your employer, because even though you may think, hey, I have all this information, everything's good, you still want to check with them. Also, even if you are working with someone at that organization that you're starting with, still, check with them that you have everything needed. Do they need your CV? Do they need, specific days that you started? Do they just need the month? You want to have all that information ready because, once again, nothing worse than thinking, hey, I submitted what I submitted, haven't heard anything, everything must be great. And then all of a sudden you get that information of, hey, you haven't been credentialed, we can't allow you to start. That pushes back your start date. Same thing with the licensing. And even if you think, you know what, no big deal if my start date gets pushed back, that's going to fall into a lot of other things as a domino effect of, well, maybe now you're not getting your sign-on bonus. Maybe you had some loan repayment deal with that organization. But hey, since you didn't start on time, now that's going to get pushed back a little bit. Or maybe, hey, if you don't start when you're supposed to start, we can, tear up the contract and we can go with someone else. So make sure that you're following up with both licensing and credentialing to make sure that everything is going smoothly and you can start on time. And then also relocating and moving. So for some of you, not going to be an issue because, hey, I am staying at the same hospital that I did training in, or I'm staying in the same area. I already have a house here. But if you do have to relocate, one of the top tips I can give you, give yourself plenty of time. There is nothing more stressful than trying to excuse me, than trying to search for a house or an apartment. And all of a sudden, on top of that, you have a start date, and that start date starts next week. Give yourself plenty of time. So, once again, if you've signed a contract with someone, you guys have started that licensing credentialing process, everything's good, that's when you want to start looking. Ask around, especially if you're not sure of where should I be looking. Should I be looking for a house? Should I be looking for an apartment? Should I be looking for a condo? Ask that recruiting department. They're going to know. They may have some suggestions for you, or they may say, you know what, not 100% sure, but let me give you to Dr. Smith because her and her family have recently moved here. Or let me give you to Dr. Jackson. Him and his family have recently moved here. Whatever it may be, but you want to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to start that search, find that those accommodations, and then be able to move in prior to your start date. So as you are searching for that new house, condo, apartment, whatever it may be, try to check out the neighborhood, especially at peak commute times for you, because you may think, oh my gosh, this looks like a great place to live, and all of a sudden you realize, okay, if I live here, it's going to add extra 40 minutes to my commute in the morning or in the evening because, there's school buses in here, there's city buses, there's just a lot of traffic in general, the light's really short. Whatever it may be, you want to know that going in. Same thing with, hey, you know what, looks like a nice quiet little neighborhood, but maybe it's not that quiet. And at night, you hear a lot of noises. So you want to definitely try to check out that area that you're going to potentially be living in, so that way you can make sure, hey, this is somewhere where I can live. Because if it's somewhere where you just go, you know what, I need to find a place, this place looks decent enough, I can move, down the road, well, that's going to start to affect your work life, because if you're not getting great sleep, if you're just, grumpy because, hey, this commute was awful, if you have terrible neighbors, whatever it may be, that's going to bleed into your professional life. So definitely make sure that you're checking out that area beforehand. Also, if you need to apply for any moving loans or anything like that, or housing loans, make sure that you start to do that as soon as possible. So that way you can make sure that everything is good to go. You don't have to wait on, hey, I'm waiting to see if I'm pre-approved, if I've been approved, any of that nonsense. So start early with that. And then as you find, that perfect, accommodation for you or you and your family, that's when you get to start preparing to move. So even if that move is, a month away, start to do some things like, are you using a moving company? If so, then you want to start to do some research on which moving company do I want to use. Am I looking for the cheapest? Am I looking for someone who is really reputable? Whatever that is, you want to start to do that. Same thing if you need to rent trucks or storage units because you're going to move out yourself, totally fine. But start preparing that with packing things up that you don't need or that you're not going to use. as you are starting to pack up your belongings, definitely label them. Something people don't normally think about until after the fact when they're unloading everything. Also, keep anything important like documents like birth certificates, things like that with you. Same thing with any valuable items, jewelry, computers, laptops, anything like that. Try to keep that in the same vehicle that you're in. Just because that's going to avoid something getting lost or stolen. And hey, I needed a copy of my social security card that was in a box. Not sure which box it's in. Now I've got to dig through everything before I'm able to start that opportunity. So make sure that as you are, relocating and moving, that you do keep that in mind that, hey, I might need some of this stuff before it's actually time to unpack everything. Um, that way you can have it where it's needed. But that is it for today's session. So if you do have any questions, like I said, you can always reach out to us at practicepath@practicematch.com, or feel free to call or text my cell phone at 314-745-0869. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day.